Hi guys, Dave here from Wolf in the Wild Survival. In the event of an economic collapse, or even your own personal economic crisis, you are going to be forced to survive basically by your wits and your guile. Now, sadly, there are people doing that today, all over the place. And where I live, London, Ontario, is no different. I'm maybe a few hundred yards in from a road, a rather busy road, and maybe 10 yards away from an area that obviously a homeless person had kind of set up camp and made home for a while. Looks like it's been abandoned for a little bit, so I don't mind using it in this video. But chances are, I mean, it is a nice secluded little spot, even though it is very, very close to everything. You'd never know it was there. And it's right behind me, 10 yards, but it's some form of cedar tree. I'm not exactly sure of the species. Pretty sure it's a cedar. They obscure everything so effectively, so naturally. And then there's a lot of like hawthorn, buckthorn, swampy scrub. It's so well hidden, but it's so close to the road. You could probably hear people over at a business talking, and I can't see them, they can't see me. As long as I'm quiet, they won't hear me. Very, very, very secluded spot that is still close to areas where you could gather resources if you are homeless or enduring an economic collapse. Now, just over to my right, in front of me, there is a few things that I want to show you before I take you into the back here. Okay, so from this point, all I did was simply just flip the camera around. And, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know what that is, but it's fiberglass, I know that. And then further back, there's a seat from a minivan that they've stripped all of the covering off of, the leather, pleather, whatever. There's another grouping of scrap back there, all of which could be relatively useful in creating some sort of a shelter or part of your shelter. I don't know, maybe a bed or a chair or something like that. Flipping the camera around once again, more or less where I was standing at the beginning of this video. You'll see there's some signs of people being around, but as soon as you come around these trees, amidst a lot of buckthorn, you can see their little home here, and it's just riddled in garbage. Water bottles and food containers and things that they've gathered up. So I mean, there certainly is usable resources here. You probably need to clean them, but chances are, being that I am in a city, I'm probably considered to be trespassing right now, so I don't really want to tip anybody off that I'm here. but you can hear people. They don't know I'm here. They might be aware that this shelter was here, and maybe they had the homeless people removed, and maybe, possibly, they kind of ripped it down. But for the time being, with the evergreen trees here, they don't know I'm here. And it's still early spring, so there's no leaves, there's no green foliage, there's nothing. There's not a lot to actually obscure my presence here other than the evergreen trees. When it does come in, when the green does come in, there's grapevines, there's swamp scrub, there's probably ivy. You'd be very, very well obscured, even better than now when the green comes in. The amount of plastic water bottles around here and 2-liter soda bottles, it's astounding. They're everywhere. I found a steak knife just over there. They've obviously used. Some food containers. Somebody was surviving here, probably a good portion of the winter, I would imagine. Thankfully, we had a mild winter this year, so it probably wasn't as harsh on these people or person as it otherwise could have been. In some recent years, it was brutal. Yeah, there's so much garbage everywhere. Now, based on my experience as a security guard and mobile security supervisor here in London, the primary reason for homelessness, at least from what I've seen, is substance abuse. Alcohol, drugs, it's a big issue. Now, I haven't seen any signs of drug use, but that doesn't mean that it's not here. It is possible that when the homeless people were evicted, the city workers came in and sort of sanitized everything. But I still have to be very careful. I'm also trying to be very quiet because I don't want anyone to catch me in here. I want to finish this video in peace. Now I've kind of made my way inside a little bit. I am trying to be very careful. I do not want to stick myself with a hypodermic needle. The last thing I need. Cough candies. Water bottles, like I say, everywhere. There's a hairbrush that's been, the handle broke off and they repaired it with some tape and a pair of scissors. Used the scissors as a handle. So, goes to show you kind of just how bad things can be. You can't go to the dollar store and get yourself a hairbrush. You have to repair the broken one. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, right? Now, there's a tent just to my right. It's it looks like what they would call a 4-man tent, probably, which means you could fit 2 people comfortably, 3 uncomfortably, generally not 4. Not my experiences. But they do have a tent set up, which it's crashed down, it's destroyed. And then there's the tarp over top of me, and it looks like they had a really big tarp, and then maybe they used a few smaller tarps and a few things to kind of repair it and extend it and make themselves a little more living space. There's 2 kitchen chairs over here they've obviously drug in from somewhere. There's blankets everywhere. The whole area is just strewn with blankets. There's some tarp material on the ground, food containers. Yep. I would have to say that before it was destroyed, it was probably a fairly decent, fairly respectable shelter. Oh, I didn't even know there's a folding chair right there too, a plastic folding chair. There's a little kid's picnic table that you saw me sitting on earlier. There's toiletries around, toothpaste and shaving razors and kind of whatever, so I mean, you don't normally see toothpaste in the possessions of a homeless person. And those guys there probably finishing work that are about 15 yards away from me, and none the wiser that I'm here. This, I would imagine, would be a pretty good example of what your first year would kind of start to amount to in an economic collapse, or even a personal crisis of your own. This is something along the lines of what you would probably be expecting. The whole thing is being held together still by electrical tape and zip ties. I don't see a lot of paracord or rope or anything around. It's electrical tape and zip ties mostly. You know, I got to admit the amount of garbage in this area is kind of disgraceful. But it's not like they have garbage pickup. You know, they don't just put, you know, their garbage at the road and, you know, the garbage guys pick it up. And I would imagine it would be a lot for them to drag out and throw it in a bin somewhere. Probably not a very entertaining video, probably not super entertaining, a little bit sobering. And honestly, I mean, I could see me having something fairly similar to that, and this would be my only mode of transportation for as long as I could keep it, because it would get stolen while I was asleep, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, that's the harsh reality. That's the harsh reality that people face every day in every city. And like I say, here is no different. And I don't think it would be much different from that in a shit hits the fan type situation anytime in the future. Whether it be, you know, whether it be personal or local, statewide, province-wide, countrywide, or worldwide. That's a glimpse into your first year. And I imagine it would probably get harder than that before it got worse. So if you made it to the end of my sobering video, thanks very much for watching. I hope to have something a little bit more entertaining and upbeat for you in the future. But either way, I hope I see you in the next video, guys. Have a good one.